He said you would help us. Were you lying? The child looked at the sheriff. The knock wasn't loud. It was just wrong. Too slow. Too steady. Sheriff Griggs blinked through the bottle blur, boots still on, reclined in his creaking chair. The second knock came harder. He rose, shirt half-buttoned, revolver on the table untouched. He opened the door. She stood barefoot on his porch, mud on her hem, one braid half undone. Couldn't be older than 8. Eyes too wide for a child. You, Sheriff Griggs? She asked. He nodded slowly. Something happened. Her lips trembled. He said you would help us. Who? My daddy. His face changed, but he didn't speak. You were supposed to help. What's your name, sweetheart? Etta Pike. The air dropped. A long stillness. Then, Elmer Pike's dead. Her voice broke. He came home tonight. He stepped back. Your daddy's buried. He came up the hill. Mama screamed. Where is she? Gone. He stared at her. What do you mean gone? She ran when she saw him. He walked through the field. He didn't talk. Just stared. Mama said you would help. Elmer Pike died in the fire. I saw him buried. You didn't see him burn. That's different. You saw him. She nodded. He had no eyes. Griggs felt his throat tighten. He glanced toward the revolver but didn't move. Where do you live? The Pike farm. He cursed under his breath. That place is ash. It wasn't tonight. He stepped onto the porch, boots hitting wood. You walk here alone? She looked down. He followed me a while, but then stopped. I think he's waiting. For what? For you. He wiped his mouth with the back of his hand. The wind shifted. It smelled like smoke. You got anyone else? No, sir. He looked at her bare feet. Get in. She stepped inside. Quiet. Careful. Like the house might break under her. Griggs shut the door behind them and leaned his back to it, staring into the dark. Elmer Pike's been dead 16 years, he muttered. She didn't argue. Just whispered. He said you lied. They didn't talk on the drive. The sheriff kept one hand on the wheel, the other near the glove box. Etta sat stiff beside him, eyes locked out the window. The road curved toward the ridge, where the Pike place used to stand. Except it stood again. He stopped the truck. Left the engine running. That house was gone, he said. She opened the door and stepped out. Wasn't gone tonight. His boots sank into the black soil. Ash still clung to the fence posts. The windmill creaked, slow, like it had something to say but didn't trust the air. The house looked whole. Roof straight. Windows unbroken. Paint flaking but not burnt. The front steps groaned as they climbed. Inside, the air hung heavy. You sure this ain't a dream? He muttered. You feel asleep? He didn't answer. The floorboards whined under his weight. He scanned the living room. Same rug. Same couch. Same hole in the wall where Elmer used to keep the rifle. This place should be cinders, he whispered. She walked ahead. Her small hand reached for the cellar latch. It was locked when Mama ran down. Griggs frowned. This door was nailed shut. After the fire. She looked up at him. Then why's it open now? The latch swung loose. The sheriff drew his flashlight and followed her down. Steps moaned. Cold hit his skin halfway. The cellar smelled like mildew and rot. He swept the beam across the room. There, near the corner, lay a shawl. Torn at the edge. Blue flowers stitched in fading thread. She was wearing that, Etta said. He picked it up. It was damp. Next to it, half buried in dirt, something glinted. He dug it out with his hand. A tarnished badge. Older design. Scratched, but still read sheriff. That ain't mine, he said quietly. She didn't move. He turned it over. the name barely legible. R. Pike. Elmer's daddy? He asked. She nodded. Mama said he vanished. No record of him ever serving. Maybe someone didn't want one. The wind shifted upstairs. A door slammed. The sheriff flinched. We should go, he said. He said you'd come. Griggs looked down at the badge. Then back at the girl. I did. They moved slowly through the house, light bouncing off cracked glass and dust. Griggs pushed open the study door. The smell of old paper and mold hit like a slap. Nothing had changed. Books are still stacked crooked. The desk drawer is still stuck. The fireplace was blackened from the fire that supposedly ended all this. And the mantel. The photo frame should have been melted. He saw it crack from the heat himself. But now it sat upright, clean, untouched. He walked over, picked it up. Elmer, he muttered. That's my daddy, Etta said. The boy in the photo couldn't have been more than 10. Smiling stiff, like he didn't want to. Next to him stood a man with his hand on Elmer's shoulder. Brown hat. Clean badge. The same sharp eyes. That man's Sheriff Red Pike, Griggs whispered. No one called him that here, she replied. He stared at the photo. His fingers shook. The boy's eyes shifted. Barely. But they did. He dropped the frame. It hit the floor, glass intact. You saw that? He asked. She nodded. No one could fake that. No one did. He picked it back up. Held it like it might burn again. Elmer was 10 when that was taken, he said. She didn't blink. He said they buried him wrong. What does that mean? He didn't say. Griggs turned it over. Words etched into the wood. Sheriff R. Griggs, may God forgive me. He stepped back like it bit him. That's not mine. You sure? I never carved this. Maybe you forgot. I don't forget guilt. The girl reached down. He said someone owed truth. He thinks it's me? She nodded. That fire was ruled accidental. By who? Griggs didn't answer. The light flickered. Cold crawled up from the floorboards. You still think he's dead? She asked. I don't know what I think. She looked at the boy again. He's waiting for you to remember. Griggs stared at the badge on the man's chest in the photo. Same one from the cellar. He looked at Etta. She didn't look away. You believe in ghosts? He asked. I believe in liars. The station lights buzzed low. Griggs moved slowly through the filing room, fingers brushing old cabinets. Dust thick. Most drawers were empty. Some were locked. He yanked until one opened. Inside, a handful of case logs, yellowed and warped. He flipped fast, looking for names, dates, anything familiar. Etta stood by the door. What are you looking for? Records. Before I took the badge. Thought you were the only one. I was told that. He stopped on a half-burned page. Edges black, center intact. A name scrawled across the top. Redman Pike, he read. That's my granddaddy, Etta said. Griggs stared at her. Elmer never said he had kin. Men like Elmer don't get asked. The paper listed one title, Acting Sheriff, March to July, 78. Below it, a stamp. Position vacated, no successor filed. That was a lie. Griggs got the badge that fall. Redman was sheriff, he asked. For a little while. No record of burial. He never got one. Griggs ran his thumb along the burn mark. No one ever said we had 2 Pikes in that house. Elmer was still a boy when Redman vanished. Maybe he never vanished. They turned at the same time. Something cold crept in. The air shifted. Etta's breath caught. Her hand went to her chest. He's here. Griggs stepped forward. What do you mean? She pointed to the window behind him. He turned. A shadow stood outside, tall, still, just beyond the glass. Then it was gone. Griggs rushed out. The street was empty. Wind kicked dust across the sidewalk. No footsteps. No voice. Just silence. Back inside, Etta hadn't moved. "He knows," she said. "Knows what? You took what was his." "I didn't know. Doesn't change it." He sat down hard, the chair groaning beneath him. "They made me sheriff," he said. "Did you ask who came before?" "No one offered. Maybe they were glad he was gone." He rubbed his temples. "This isn't just ghosts." "No," she said. "It's memory." He looked at her again. "You think Elmer wants revenge?" She shook her head. "I think he wants the truth." Griggs stared down at the paper. "And if we find it?" She looked at the window. "Then maybe he leaves." The drive back was quiet again. This time, Griggs kept his hand closer to the gun on his hip. The girl didn't blink much. The sun was low behind the hills, throwing shadows like bars across the road. When they pulled up to the Pike farm, the windmill had stopped turning. "You hear that?" he asked. She nodded. A low, wet clang echoed behind the barn. Griggs circled around slowly. There it was, the old well, covered in warped boards, rust curling at the nails. He knelt down. Another deep clang. "That sound wasn't there yesterday," he muttered. "It started this morning," she said. He pried the boards loose, one by one. Beneath them, a rope ran down into the dark. At the end, an iron bell, swaying side to side. "There's no wind," he said. "No birds either," she added. The bell rang again. A sound like a church bell trapped underwater. Heavy. Slow. "Mama said he drowned down there." He stared into the black hole. "No one drowns in a dry well." She crouched beside him. "He said truth's heavier than water." Griggs grabbed a flashlight from the truck. Lowered it into the well. Something glinted. Wood. Carved. "It's a cross," he said. "Carved by hand. Looks that way." He adjusted the beam. "Boot down there too." "His." Griggs didn't answer. The boot had the same worn strap Elmer used to tie with copper wire. He saw something else. Paper, curled and damp. He pulled it up slowly with a hook. A torn page. Water-streaked. Still readable. "It's from a logbook," he said. "Yours?" He nodded. "Older design. My first year, maybe." He read aloud. "They made me lie. They made me light it." He stopped. "That's it?" she asked. "Page ends there." He sat back on his heels. "You wrote that." "I don't remember." "Maybe you forgot." "I don't forget fire." The bell clanged again. Louder. Griggs stood. "Looked into the well one last time." "You think he's under there?" "He said he waited long enough." The sheriff looked at her. "For what?" "For someone to tell the rest." The old council chamber smelled like stale smoke and varnish. Same chairs. Same men. Just more liver spots and thicker glasses. Sheriff Griggs dropped the burned journal page on the table. Etta stood silent beside him. "You all know what this is," Griggs said. Councilman Boone leaned forward. "Looks like a story with half the ink missing." Griggs stared at him. "It's mine. My writing. From the night the Pike farm burned." Boone shrugged. "Memory plays tricks." "This ain't a trick." Mayor Kinsey cleared his throat. "What do you want, Griggs?" "I want to know who made me sheriff." "You earned it." "No. I filled a hole no one would talk about." He pointed at the page. "They made me light it." Councilman Dorsey scoffed. "Boy, that was 4 decades back. You gonna stir up bones now?" "I found the badge. I found the well. Found the girl." "Girl's just a story in shoes," Boone muttered. Then the bell rang. Low, distant, but clear. They all went still. Kinsey's face drained. That bell ain't rung in 40 years. Then who's ringing it now? Griggs asked. No one answered. Etta looked at the men. He said you'd pretend. Boone stood. You don't want to dig, Griggs. Let ghosts be ghosts. Griggs didn't flinch. He wants a grave. They didn't stop him. Just watched as he walked out with the girl. Outside, dusk spread over the town square. The bell tower above the old church swayed without wind. The sound kept coming. He moved behind the courthouse, past the storage shed, toward the weeds behind the rusted gallows. You sure? He asked. Etta pointed. He took the shovel, started digging. The soil gave easy, like it knew what came next. 3 feet down, metal clinked. He dropped to his knees, brushed dirt with his hand. A jawbone, a rib, torn leather, and a badge, cracked, but still there. He held it up. Sheriff Redman Pike, he whispered. Etta nodded. Now he can stop ringing. Griggs sat back against the post. Inside, the bell went quiet. Etta looked at the courthouse windows. They saw you dig. Good. They'll come for you. Let 'em. He set the badge in his lap. They buried justice here. She nodded. Now dig it up. The morning came gray. The kind that made folks stay inside longer than usual. Griggs stood in the center of the square, hammer in one hand, plaque in the other. Etta watched from the courthouse steps, fingers clenched tight. He looked at the plaque. Read it again. Sheriff Redman Pike died serving truth. Then he raised the hammer. One nail. Then another. Each strike louder than it needed to be. Folks started to gather. First a few. Then a dozen. Then more. No one spoke. Griggs reached into his coat, pulled out Redman's old star, held it in his palm a long second, then pinned it beside his own. You sure about that? Etta asked. He nodded. One badge ain't enough for what's owed. You kept his. It was never mine. Rain started, light and steady. Nobody moved. Griggs stepped down. Etta met him at the bottom. They're watching, she whispered. I know. You afraid? I was. They walked to the middle of the square. The townsfolk opened space. Eyes followed. No one stopped them. He looked up at the bell tower. Quiet now. Still. You think he's done? He asked. Will he rest now? She said instead. Griggs looked at her. Then the plaque. Only if we remember. She nodded. And if they don't? Then I'll remind them. A gust of wind passed through. Leaves scattered across the stone. She tugged at his sleeve. Look. Up past the ridge. Toward the woods. 2 figures stood at the top. One tall. One small. Griggs stared. You see them too? He asked. Yes. They didn't wave. Didn't speak. Just turned slowly and stepped into the trees. The mist swallowed them. Etta blinked once. He's not angry anymore. No. He just wanted his name. Griggs nodded. And the truth. He looked around. Faces in the crowd shifted. Old guilt settling. New silence rising. He spoke low. Some truths don't stay buried. She squeezed his hand. What now? She asked. He looked toward the hill. Then the courthouse. Then the plaque. Now we start again.